Redditors who have experienced snow. What is it like? Snow is a great sound insulation. If you're in a village or a place with not much people but still some sounds, a car far away, animals, river etc. It suddenly feels very quiet and calm. Almost too much. Like if the time was frozen. Untouched snow is beautiful and it crunches while you walk on it, but once it starts to melt, when many people walked on it, it become dirty and muddy. It's very light and fragile, but when the snow become a bit old, it starts to be heavy and compact. When it's sunny, the untouched snow starts to sparkle like thousands of tiny diamonds. But when snow melts and then it's getting colder, it can be very slippery and puddles starts to freeze. It is one of the greatest pleasure for kids and adult me, to break the thin layer of ice which get formed on puddles with our boots. It's so satisfying. Just like when I break the top of my Siami brule. Sorry, I'm French. Nothing else came to my mind with my spoon. Please feel free to correct my English. I'm working on it. There's different kinds of snow. There's the sticky snow you can make snowmen and snowballs out of. When sticky snow falls and then the temperature drops really low, it gets really hard and you can't do much with it. Then there's the powdery snow that blows around in the wind and is good for skiing and snowboarding and sledding. It feels like you're walking on the moon when it's freshly fallen. Sometimes in the morning, if you listen closely, you can hear it blowing around and it sounds how glitter looks. A hard layer forms over powdery snow when the sun shines and melts the top layer, and then it hardens overnight. It's fun to walk on because it makes the crunchy sounds, but it's still soft on the bottom. Depending on how much powdery snow is underneath, you can put your whole legs under. Then there's slush. It usually happens on roads and parking lots, and it's like someone took a frizzy icy slushy and dumped it everywhere. It forms puddles and is hard to drive in but fun to jump in with rain boots in the spring. Sometimes in the middle of winter it will get above freezing and slush will form but then freeze during the night if it doesn't get plowed off the road before it freezes. Then ridges where tires will freeze and that's also hard to drive on. Edit. Thank you for the awards and fun comments to read. I wrote this when I was supposed to be writing a book report, so maybe it was worth it. Fun for the first few days, then you really would just like feeling back in your fingers and toes. It's very peaceful and nice to look at as long as you don't have to drive in it or remove it. As a child it's fun because you can throw snowballs, build snowmen, make snow angels, and go sledding. As an adult it sucks cause you have to shovel, drive in it, and after a long winter it's just brown, grey and gross looking, and your car gets full of dirt and salt. But I must say, the first snowfall is always beautiful to me. I love taking a walk down a wooded road and the pure white color and muffled sounds from the snow made for a peaceful, beautiful walk. Sometimes it's light and falls apart in your hands, and sometimes you can pack it to make snowballs or snowmen. You can also eat it if you want. If you see a yellow patch, that's the good stuff. As a kid, a wonderland. As a teen, a cool moment. As an adult, a pain in the ass. As a senior, a death trap. Heavier than you would think. Shoveling a driveway with a foot of snow feels like shoveling a foot of dirt off your driveway. I live in Minnesota and snow is f***ing amazing, dude. It's a nice soft cold powder, and if you are epic enough, go out with swim trunks on and sit right down in it. It's nice when you are outside in a snowstorm and it feels like you are the only person on the planet. Driving home in it last night, I was very worried about losing control of my car as I went up and down hills. After I got home and it stopped snowing, walking outside to shovel the driveway, couldn't believe how beautiful everything looked in the evening light. After shoveling it, was annoyed at how sore my back was when I was done. After the county snowplow passed through, left a 2-foot high wall in front of my driveway. I hated the goddamn shit. So passive aggressive about it. Depending on the scenario, I have mixed emotions. Driving. Absolutely terrible. So many crashes. Hills are bad. It's very easy to slide. House maintenance. This is like shoveling. Scraping windows. Etc. It's horrible. You have to wake up early to shovel your driveway so you can get back up it. You have to start your car to warm it and scrape the windows so you can see. I hate every bit of it. Activities. This is the only good thing about snow. I'm talking like sledding and jazz like that. Yes. You have to drive to get there. But while you're out maybe in an empty parking lot. Doing donuts is really fun. Sledding is really fun. And I always try to go every year. Storms. Probably the worst part. Imagine you had work for 12 hours. You shovel your driveway in the morning. But while you were at work, there was a massive blizzard. Now you are getting home to your driveway covered in snow. When you just want to go to bed, you have to shovel the driveway again just to get up. I hate it. School. I'm talking about delays. It's a great way to get sleep, study, etc. It's incredible what a day off can do. At elementary schools, they make massive hills of snow to play on. Holy crap, those were fun. I typed all of this on mobile. So if I could get 5 upvotes for my thumbs, that would be appreciated. If you go outside in shorts and a t-shirt and the sun is visible, you can get a tan. Just because of all the sunlight reflecting off the snow. Cold? If you aren't prepared, you're in for a treat. Sarcasm. It's a nightmare in my opinion. Driving in it is horrible too. That's what I think at least. My dog loves it. http imgur.com/86 yaps. He's a Bernese mountain boy. And it's so fun to see him in his natural environment. It's hard to describe to someone who hasn't ever felt it. I guess just imagine ice cream that's not quite frozen. Snow and winter have a smell. It's crisp and fresh. Skies turn orange when it's cloudy at night. Snow reflects a lot of light. So nights are a lot brighter than in the summer. It's wet. It's so wet and cold when it melts. I hate the snow. It's cold. And coarse. And rough. And it gets everywhere. The thing that surprised me most was how hard it is. Movies make it look fluffy. But it's essentially just crushed ice like you'd get in a snow cone. And it gets gross and dirty really quickly. Looks amazing when untouched. It's fun to look at the paw prints that are in the snow. Fun to play in for a while. Snowball fights. Gets annoying after a while. School cancellations. I live in a place where there are snow days. But like once or twice. So when school is cancelled, it's awesome. I live near San Francisco and it doesn't snow here pretty much ever. And I've been to the snow but I'd never actually seen it snow until I went to Chicago. It was magical. I loved it. The second closest would be when I was in Disneyland for Christmas once, and during the fireworks show they played Let It Snow and had soap suds shooting out from seemingly nowhere. That was also magical. Me. A sad Floridian wanting to experience snow. I am a lot happier with snow. It makes my day or my week. Getting hit in the face with some cold smoke while skiing deep powder is amazing. It's wonderful. It's truly peaceful to sit outside while it's falling. There's a silence that falls over the atmosphere. Nobody is really on the road, so the hustle and bustle comes to a standstill. For a moment man's creation is hidden and God's beautiful creation takes over. To see the beauty that comes from barren trees holding up billions of snowflakes. Transforming forests and mountains that were barren to a beautiful scene of perfect balance. Created by the contrast to the dark trees and bright white. Everything is a lot quieter. It's really peaceful. It's cold and wet but not like water wet. It's kinda hard to describe. As it falls and hits your face, it's kinda soft. It crunches when you walk on it. Kinda like sand, but not quite. It's cold and white and irritating, and it gets everywhere. I was born and grew up in a land of snow and then moved to a tropical island country. Snow is magical. If you've never experienced being in a snowy field in the middle of nowhere just basking in the comforting silence that is a light snowfall, you really should. I miss it terribly. Well, let me look out my car window and I can't see shit. The most salient feature is the cold. There's many different kinds of snow. Some is fluffy. Some is wet and drippy. Some is crusty, but it's all cold. If there's snow, it's cold enough that you need special clothing. You can't just wear normal clothes. And you have to plan around the cold for everything. It is f-king bullshit, and if you live somewhere without it, I f-king hate you. It's great until you've got to move a lot of it. Cold and wet. I live in the mid-Atlantic where people's driving skills fly out the window at the first sight of a flake in my town. People in SUVs without four-wheel drive think they can still drive 70 miles per hour on the highway. The store's shelves become empty of milk and toilet paper quickly. Bottled water too. If it snows enough to need the roads plowed, people put lawn chairs in their spots to save them, which can lead to fights over stealing someone's spot. The news station talk about black ice, which somehow becomes a race issue. In reality, it's talking about ice that appears black on the blacktop of the roads. You should watch out for it because your car will lose traction. My neighbor shovels the snow from his driveway directly into the street, thinking that it will magically disappear that way. School's close for less than an inch, which adds days onto the end of the year, and people complain about whether it was the right decision to close or not. Peaceful, quiet, beautiful and clean. Apart from the obvious cold, of course. The world goes from a dark, colorless, sad and ugly place to beautiful, light, clean and pure overnight. It never ceases to amaze me, and first time every winter is always mesmerizing. Love it. Shoveling it even just one time makes you never want it again. White, cold, and slippery. Kind of like my wife. I only remember it once. I live in the desert. It hurts. It is fun. And it is crunchy. Really fun until you get to maybe 13, and then it's complete bullshit. I live in UK though, and we don't handle it well. We get snow maybe a handful of days a year and the country practically shuts down. We get it occasionally here and it's great. 'Cause it's so rare. Everyone's in a great mood. You see families out. People sledding. People make snowmen and kids laughing and playing. It's like a movie on Christmas Day. We don't get it on Christmas Day though. Usually only January for the time. There are a lot of different kinds. Sometimes you'll get the dry snow. This snow is no fun. It is easy to slip on and it acts kinda like sand when you try to pick it up. So you can't pack it and throw it. It's usually accompanied by really cold weather that feels like knives. It sticks but never piles up, so it's just this white sheet of death. All around icky experience. Then there's pebbly powdery snow. It's made of really round, tiny clumps of snowflakes. And it's more powdery than the dry stuff. It looks like confectioner's sugar that just got sifted onto a cake or cookie. It accumulates nicely and shovels easily, and it's usually excellent for packing into snowballs. Great snow for play. But still slippery and dangerous on the roads. Actually, all snow is dangerous. So just assume that from now on. Then there's perfect packing snow. Also known as sledding snow. It's like one big object that you can pick up pieces of and build with. It's not powdery or faint at all. It's just like one big pile. Best for packing into snowballs or snowmen. Lots of fun to sled in BC. It makes a perfect path down the hill, unless it's too deep lol. BTCH to shovel. But kids will have a blast. Sometimes. It'll sleet on top of this kind of snow during an nor'easter and you get a thick layer of ice on top of it. I sometimes peel leaves off of the ice that has accumulated on them and they leave a patterned indent on the ice. The anticipation of snowstorm coming is exciting. The local news goes crazy. The grocery is a madhouse. Then it comes and it's beautiful. Then the cleanup and complaining begins. Cold and wet and irritating and it gets everywhere. It's cold and it's pretty until it starts melting, but the weather isn't warm enough to melt all of it, so you have piles of ugly grey slush on the side of the road everywhere you go. Work is difficult to get to or leave because everyone loses their shit and suddenly can't drive, even though this happens every year, so you're stuck at your job until someone takes pity on you and actually shows up for work. It sticks to your clothes, which is fine until you go somewhere warm and then you're wet and uncomfortable because it melts. Then you go back into the cold, still wet from the last outside excursion, and freeze your ass off. Not to mention how the local government and schools freak out and shut everything down at the sight of a single snowflake, so school years end up lasting into summer to make up for the days off. The local government also has no freaking clue how to handle the snow, even though, once again, it happens every year. Jesus King Christ. Virginia, get your shit together. So that's what snow is like where I live. Soft and fluffy for a solid 5 seconds, then it's wet and cold. The sound of falling snow is so quiet. It's like a big blanket damping sound. In the cold daylight it sparkles like someone applied glitter to the top. I love it and any sport involving snow ice. Winter is my outdoors season and summer is my stay inside time. My favorite moments are hiking a little ways off on a ski hill and sitting in the complete silence. Snow absorbs any noise, so all you can hear is your own breath.